What's up, guys? So if you have not been on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube at all today, this might be the first that you're hearing of this. Got some possible, very upsetting news for you. So Morbius, as we all know, as far as us comic book fans, is a movie that's been delayed for what feels like forever now. I think it's been over 2 years since the first trailer for this film dropped. I know I see the trailer every time I go to the movie theaters. It's always being played online. The release date has moved about 7 or 8 times with the COVID situation since 2020. And we're a couple of weeks away from this officially hitting theaters. Now, one of the biggest things that have been exciting and drawing a lot of people's interest from these trailers is all of the little hints and nuggets giving us the impression that this is going to take place in some form of the Spider-Man universe. Obviously, Morbius is traditionally a Spider-Man villain, so that should kind of be expected, but with all of the different things that we've been having in the movie world, with Venom never really encountering a Spider-Man yet, with the multiverse that just got opened up in Spider-Man No Way Home a few months ago, there's a lot of different possibilities of where this could fit. Could it be in its own universe? Could it be in the Tom Holland? Could it be in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man universe? We don't know, but the answers to those questions, I will go out on a limb and say, was the biggest draw for most of us movie fans to go and check this movie out. Well, get ready to be disappointed, because there is a lot of reports going around that all of those connective tissue scenes and Easter eggs and nods that we saw in the trailers, from Morbius actually walking past a graffiti mural of Spider-Man with the words murderer across it, the Daily Bugle actually being shown on screen, having multiple scenes being shown with Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes, also known as Vulture, even that little stinger joke at one of the more recent trailers where he goes, "I am Venom."
Who the hell are you, man?
I am Venom. I'm just kidding. It's Dr. Michael Morbius at your service.
That's all tying into all of these movies that we have seen and getting everybody's interest piqued about where Morbius fits into that big-ass Rubik's Cube that is now the multiverse. Apparently all that shit's been cut out of the movie.
I got a belly full of white dog crap in me. And now you laid this shit on me?
Now, to be fair, there has not been any official source that has confirmed or denied any of this. Nobody from Sony, not Jared Leto himself. Nothing like that. This has come from a couple of Twitter accounts that claim to have seen the film, which on one side of things is never really a good source to hold for information, but on the other side, there have been a ton of things that have been leaked or have been scooped on Twitter that have ended up being true. So just keep that in mind while watching this video. Nobody official is saying this, but a couple of people on Twitter that have claimed to have seen the film have given tweets showing specific scenes in the trailers that have been all but removed from the film. All the ones that I just told you about. All of the Spider-Man tie-in scenes. And apparently the only mention, the only significant scene that we get with Michael Keaton has now been moved and relegated to a post-credit scene.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
What that post-credit scene hints at, obviously I have no idea until we see the film. And as somebody that I've never really been on the train that thinks that this movie looks very good. I think that it could very easily be an extremely generic comic book film, a very passable throwaway hour and a half at the movie theaters, but it could surprise us. I always try to walk in a little bit open-minded. As somebody that's been that, we'll say, pessimistic about this film, this is really disappointing for me, because that was one of the main things that I was very intrigued about with this film, was what does this mean? Does this mean that, now that Tom Holland we're getting hints that maybe he's going to be pulling away from the MCU and going to be now in his Sony-verse? Is this going to be the first movie that's going to really establish that? Is it going to open up doors for Andrew Garfield or for Tobey Maguire to eventually come back or be in their own little standalone series from that? I had no idea, but so many questions that I had as a Spider-Man fan, especially after seeing No Way Home, that I was really looking forward to checking out this movie to have those answers. And now that I'm hearing that it's possible that this is just a Morbius movie, this is just a movie that's going to establish this Jared Leto vampire character, my interest has been cut more than in half. That's possible. You could walk into this movie, and even if all these rumors and reports are true, and this has absolutely zero ties to the greater Spider-Man universe, it's just its own standalone thing, we could still walk into this and have a pretty damn good time. This could still be a good movie, but I think that even if the majority of people walk into this film, walk out really liking the movie itself, the main narrative that's going to be coming out of this movie is where the fuck was all the Spider-Man shit that was in those trailers? I mean, we've been watching these trailers for 2 years now. I don't think there may have been no other trailer in existence that has been played in front of big audiences in the theaters more than the Morbius trailer. Somebody's got to fact check me on that, but we've seen the shit out of this trailer. We have had our expectations imprinted and fucking laminated into our skull about what we are going to this movie to go and check out. And if it is in fact true that they have cut all of that out of the movie, or possibly never intended on putting that in the movie in the first place and just used that for advertisement, brings up a really serious conversation and debate regarding false advertising. Now, on one end, there's a lot of times that we have seen in recent history where people go way too far with that term, false advertising. I mean, Marvel is infamous for putting out trailers that are misleading, having characters digitally put into scenes that they are not in the final movie, having scenes where characters are digitally removed. I mean, hell, Spider-Man No Way Home. We all saw that scene where the one Spider-Man is going towards those 3 villains in slow-mo. And eventually, after seeing the movie, you realize, oh yeah, the other 2 Spider-Man were digitally removed from that. Which makes sense. There's even been an Infinity War and an Endgame where you have certain characters spliced into certain scenes for advertisement's sake when they're not actually there. And I personally don't really consider that false advertising because the movie is still giving us 100% of what it is advertising. But this is not that. If you have 2 years of marketing that are, we'll say 60% Morbius, but 40%, hey guys, Spider-Man universe stuff, and then you finally get to the film and 40% of the stuff that you've been advertising is not in that final film, I would consider that false advertising. I would consider that a bit of a bait and switch. I would consider that really, really scummy marketing on Sony's part, preying on the Spider-Man fandom, especially the hype that they knew was going to explode with the release of No Way Home, just to remove that and give us a movie that they did not promise us. And it also begs the question on why they would remove all of that stuff. Again, assuming that all of it is true, what would Sony's motivations be to remove all of the Spider-Man references from their Spider-Man villain standalone film? And the only explanation I can come up with is that the movie's a piece of shit. Spider-Man No Way Home is by far the most successful thing that Sony has had in a very long time, possibly ever. Spider-Man No Way Home is by far the most successful Spider-Man thing that they have ever had. And it's possible that when they intended to release Morbius, maybe they didn't realize how successful No Way Home was going to be. And now that it has exploded and turned into this giant box office behemoth, and is just rose through the ranks as being not only the most profitable and the most box office, just money-hungry movie of the post-pandemic era, but one of the most financially successful movies of all time, maybe they went back and looked at the dailies and looked at the rough cuts of Morbius and said, oh, yeah, we can't follow up No Way Home with this. But granted, I am completely speaking out of just my own interpretations of things. I am completely speculating here. We might get a report tomorrow that says, whoa guys, calm down. All that stuff is still in the movie, we promise. But until then, all of the reports that I'm seeing, the fact that I'm seeing a lot of reputable people talk about this story and share this story and give opinions on this story is starting to make me feel very uneasy, and it's starting to make me lean much more towards this possibly being a fact. So I guess the only question is, do you guys care about Morbius if it has nothing to do with the Spider-Man universe? Is this a character that you're invested in, that you're intrigued in, that you actually have a lot of built-in anticipation for, that the Spider-Man stuff was just going to be frosting on the cake, but you're actually going for that character and to see this living vampire comic book villain come to life? Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Is this a movie that can survive the pop culture response, film Twitter, all of the inevitable memes and all of the inevitable reviews that are going to come out if this is in fact a movie that promised Spider-Man stuff and delivered none of that? Let me know your thoughts down below, guys, and we will talk about it. Please like and share this video to help get it shared around. Also hit that subscribe button if you are a fan of this video. I don't do news videos very often, but when I do, it's often something very interesting to talk about. So if you are a movie fan, I always do reviews and rankings every single week. Actually, later on today, we're going to be talking about my top 10 favorite movie characters, which should be a very fun ranking. So definitely hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of that. Thank you guys for watching as always, and remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.